Lazerboy, what is the secret of your powers?
Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to the Lazerboy podcast. This is episode 28, Into the Spider-Man Part 3. In this episode, we're going to be discussing the MCU Spider-Man movies, starting with his appearances in the MCU, which are Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and of course his solo standalone Sony co-productions with Marvel Studios, and those are Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Spider-Man No Way Home, which just released earlier last month in December of 2021. And of course I'm going to be talking about Spider-Man with fellow podcast co-host and Spider-Man enthusiast, Stephen Bess. How are you doing, Mr. Stephen?
I'm doing good. A little bit cold this time of year, but otherwise I'm doing good.
Yeah, it's snowing where you are, right?
Yes, it is.
Did you build a Spider-Man snowman yet?
No, I built some snow cats, and I'm working my way up the evolutionary ladder.
Sounds like a blast, man. At least you're keeping busy out there.
Yeah, doing my part.
Yeah. All right, so like I said, I covered what we're going to be talking about this episode. Obviously, spoilers for all, I believe, 6 movies we're going to be talking about. We're going to go briefly touch on his appearances in the MCU because in about at least 2 of them, they're like glorified cameos, right? Civil War is probably like a 10-minute runtime for him, and then ditto Endgame is probably like 15 minutes in the final sequence. So he has a much larger role in Infinity War, of course, and so we're probably gonna be spending a lot more time on the solo Sony Spider-Man movies. Does that sound good to you, Steven?
Sounds great to me.
Yeah. So before we start, let me plug real quick the website. Visit thelazerboy.wordpress.com and check out all of our podcast episodes. Well, most of our podcast episodes on the YouTube channel. Just type in The Lazerboy and you should find it. Lazerboy with a Z. Cool. So let's get right into it because we got a lot to cover here. Starting with Captain America Civil War. So before this, it's only been 2 years removed since The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which we talked about in our last podcast. The 2 Amazing Spider-Man, right?
Correct.
And so it's only been 2 years, and in the middle of all of that, the MCU has already been going on. So a little strange to just see that end like so abruptly, and then but it's cool for us because we're fans of the MCU more so than the Mark Webb. As valiant an effort as those movies were, the Mark Webb Spider-Man movies, nothing can compare to the MCU iteration. Wouldn't you agree with me there, Steven?
Yeah, I mean, the MCU and definitely Sam Raimi's films are my 2 favorites. It's kind of like we talked about in the last episode briefly. It was the 2 Amazing Spider-Man films had so much potential that just was not ultimately lived up to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they didn't have the greatest scripts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were trying to retread on too much ground. What I really liked about Civil War, like you said, even though Spider-Man's only in it for about 10 minutes,
mm-hmm.
It's a pretty power-packed 10-minute scene.
Absolutely.
The whole battle in Berlin at the airport.
Yeah. Before we get too deep into Civil War, let me just follow up on what you were talking about, the Mark Webb Spider-Man. I like you said, the potential is there. We see what they were going for, um, trying to be a stark contrast. Stark, see what I did there? Contrast, contrast to the Raimi trilogy, trying to make it like more Nolan esque, more dark, more grounded, right? And
Yeah,
but ultimately, yeah, we both feel that the scripts weren't developed enough, especially in the second one, since they're in the midst of the Sony hack, and they just were just trying to fast track everything because everyone,
right.
even the DCEU Warner's, was just trying to catch up with Marvel Studios, and you could tell that they just didn't develop these scripts enough, and they were just like, let's make some money, let's catch up, and that's why you have such like shoddy, underdeveloped movies that were produced, and the audience is not stupid. Modern audiences can tell. We're not as dumb as we look. So so that gets us right into Civil War, and yeah, we don't want to get into too much like the business terms, the financial, and the studio side of it, but somehow I believe like Kevin Feige, the creative head of Marvel Studios, and Amy Pascal came to some kind of agreement to share the rights of Spider-Man.
Correct.
Do you have
Yeah.
any other information on that you want to add?
No, I think you got it.
So yeah, like
Hence,
technically,
hence, hence the whole birth of the MCU Tom Holland Spider-Man.
yes, yes, yes. Which is such a great blessing for all MCU fans all over the world. But yeah, basically, I don't want to get into it too much, but it's basically like a one for you, one for me kind of thing, where like all of the Sony Spider-Man movies are going to be distributed solely by Sony, right?
Correct.
And they
Yeah.
get they get all of the financial benefits of that. They don't share a dime with Marvel there, but in exchange, they get Spider-Man in all the Avengers movies, or any other you know MCU films shared, so forth, right? So yeah, it's an interesting. I don't know the specific details, but that's from my understanding what they agreed to, and yeah, it's
Yeah, it is an interesting deal.
mhm.
Now, from what I've heard, right now they're in like new negotiations
Right.
with Sony because obviously Tom Holland and Zidana and I all Marissa Tomei, all the main actors and cast were uh, hired to do or contracted for a trilogy to do 3 films,
Yeah.
and now their contracts are all theoretically up
Hmm.
for renegotiation.
Right.
So
Okay.
it'll be really interesting to see uh, how that works, what kind of deal the two studios strike up. I'm
Yeah.
hoping they will be able to maintain a healthy working relationship and we will continue to see Spider-Man in the MCU.
Yeah. Well, let's speculate when we get there,
All right.
because there's some little shake up there too in between. I believe the end of Far From Home. So we'll get that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So, okay, let's start with Civil War. Like you said, like a 10-minute appearance in the middle of the film. Uh, Iron Man and Captain America are at odds. They have some philosophical, political differences on how they want to be policed, I guess you could say, to try to sum it up as quickly and concisely as
Right.
possible, right? And
Or not policed. The Sokovia Accords.
right, yeah, 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 yeah. To be policed or to not be policed, right? Is the debate there, and I talked about it at the end of our Amazing Spider-Man podcast, but I think that is such a brilliant concept to just have our heroes in conflict, because we
Hmm.
care about them so much. That's all I'll say about that. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, other than it was a brilliant. I think Civil War, the comic which it was based on by Marvel, was the whole concept was brilliant. Yeah, hero against hero, brother against brother.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a great dynamic to pit Iron Man versus Captain America.
Was that how it was like
And
in the comics as well?
yeah, there were a lot more heroes in the
Oh, right,
comics.
right, right. It's a big splash panel, right? Is what they call it,
Oh yeah,
which is pretty much what the airport fight sequence was. They say that in the behind the scenes. That's one big splash panel right there. But we'll get into specifics as we talk about it more. But yeah, they said pretty much Kevin Feige said that Spider-Man has been Spider-Man for 6 months. We're talking about his presence in Civil War here. No Spider Bite, no Uncle Ben. So all of his origin was pretty much summed up in a conversation with Tony Stark, right?
yes.
What did you think about how they did that?
I think that was smart only because with the Raimi trilogy, we got to know Spider-Man so well, and especially the classic line which Stan Lee penned himself: "With great power comes great responsibility,"
Mm-hmm.
and that being the theme and the whole concept of that. Spider-Man is really this very tragic hero because he could have saved Uncle Ben
Yeah,
had he wanted to. Um, had he decided that with great power comes great responsibility, and acted in stopping the guy who was robbing the wrestling promoter.
yeah,
uh, and then again with the Amazing Spider-Man, the Andrew Garfield films, we see a variation of that with Martin Sheen
yeah.
when he plays the uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's interesting because I think that might have been one of the flaws of the Garfield trilogy, is that it was retreading on too much ground.
Yeah,
And I think that's something that the MCU films definitely wanted to avoid.
yeah. That's a
So
great point.
to me, it made perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. I believe like Kevin Feige said that as well, and it just goes to show how in touch he is with audience like modern audiences. He probably like Marvel and Walt Disney Pictures probably what's the term when they like focus group things like that.
Synergy?
Yeah, yeah. Well, focus group is what I yeah they like focus group a lot of what the audience
Yeah.
would want to see, and he's really much in touch with that because he probably is on boards and like you know internet forums, and he's reading all the comments like, oh, we don't need another origin story and stuff like that. So he gave us what we wanted and gave us an origin story in one conversation, which is I think kind of
Well,
genius.
go ahead.
No, no, but yeah, but let me
Here's why it was so smart.
yeah.
The fact that the and again, I'm going to go back to the Raimi films. Like I've said over the last two episodes, and this one, I'm going to repeat myself. Just set such a standard for the visual storytelling that is required for a comic book movie, and you had such great performances and effects that are still hold up to this day and are still a fun roller coaster ride to watch, and you really get emotionally invested in the characters. And the same thing is going on with the new Spider-Man.
Uh,
Um, I think the original trilogy really was an adaptation of the Amazing Spider-Man comic by Stan Lee. I think the Mark Webb films kind of lean more towards Ultimate Spider-Man
okay.
uh, by Brian Michael Bendis, and the MCU in its own right has kind of done its own thing with Spider-Man.
Ah, interesting. Very cool. Okay, so yeah, continuing on with Civil War, I really love the casting. Tom Holland, we can't praise him enough. Just a great naivete. He really captures like the young spirit of being age appropriate, adventurous. His naivete really contrasts with Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark's cynicism, and I think that's a great kind of like odd couple pairing there, and
Yeah.
it works really well. And you could tell like even right when we meet Tom Holland's Peter Parker walking into his apartment and meeting Tony Stark, like he's like in awe, right? He's like he's meeting his idol, he's meeting a celebrity, and great casting too with Aunt May, Marissa Tomei. Real quick, what if? But who do you think in this universe would could have played Uncle Ben?
Joe Pesci.
I was thinking the exact same thing. We're synergy here, buddy. Yeah,
All right.
because of
Yeah,
because
no,
of
I
the
like that.
because
No,
of the My
that's
Cousin
actually
Vinny,
a really
right?
good question.
Because of My Cousin Vinny.
I don't know.
Did you hear what I said, Steven?
Who could play Uncle Ben
No,
potentially? If
no,
they
no,
had
no,
cast him?
no. Because of My Cousin Vinny, that's why we picked Joe Pesci, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you know who else it could have been? Work
Who
work
else?
with me here. Um, fuck, what's George Costanza? Because he loves
Okay.
because he likes
Jason Alexander.
yeah, because he
That's
likes
right.
because he likes Marissa Tomei so much in Seinfeld, you know.
That would be. I would kind of personally love to see that scene. Peter, Peter, I'm dying over here. Shut up. Let me say something. With great power comes yada 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 yada.
There you go. He's a, Uncle Ben's
You're
getting
just getting upset.
Uncle Ben's getting upset.
upset.
All right, I'm gonna have to edit that because our levels went really high there, but
Sorry.
it's okay. All right, yeah, that was just a fun little anecdote I wanted to ask you there, but um, yeah, Tom Holland's a great bit of casting here. Anything else you want to add to that? Of why that was such a good casting?
He's a good actor. I mean, I remember watching Robert Downey Jr. and the rest of the cast of the Avengers, and then just on the Jimmy Kimmel show,
Ah,
and how much they were getting along, and you
yeah,
could tell like legitimately were having fun making these movies. And I
absolutely.
think that always really comes across on the screen, and the audience can tell. And he was a great fit, you know. Like you said, he made a great Peter Parker. He was this really nerdy high school kid, but one that you could identify with, you really wanted to sympathize with, and you really wanted to be able to, in your own right, suit up with and web sling through the city.
Yeah, I love the contrast too of like he has a nerdy side and that wide-eyed, mischievous, but he's also like he's got a physical presence as well. You know, he takes off his shirt and he's like muscular, and
Yeah.
Tom Holland's an actual dancer.
Mm-hmm.
So you could tell like his physicality and athleticism is like you can't fake that, and he brings it.
No, and he can hit those crazy poses that all the classic Spider-Man
Absolutely, it's
artists did
almost
in the
like he's a
comics.
gymnast. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great to see him like he does. I don't know if he does most of his own stunts, but he does a lot of them, and you could tell he's not just bring in my double here, and he probably
right.
wants to do some of his own stunts. So that's a credit to him, his physicality too. So
I think most of the actors, I think all three of them did as much as they physically could without, being in danger of falling 60 feet down a set.
right, it's a lot of wiring there too, a lot
Right.
of Yun Wu Ping type
Exactly. Yeah. They
wire fu.
when everything goes into bullet time.
Right, right. So cool. Yeah, I noticed too when I was watching we're talking about Civil War, so yeah, that he uses a motion capture suit for most of the action sequences, and like when I was watching the behind the scenes footage, I'm like, that's kind of dumb, but I guess it's more practical because even like Tony Stark, when he's Iron Man, he has like
A
a
motion
motion capture.
capture,
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
mocap
rig.
suit. He maybe wears like the top half of the suit just for to get him in character maybe, but I mean, and for the photo for the effects people to have some kind of frame of reference, but yeah, for the most part, all the action sequences they're all like in mocap suits and stuff like that. So it doesn't look cool like to see that like the that footage, but of course it's more practical to do that for budgetary reasons and efficiency and so on and so forth. So
Well, it looks more animated than him wearing a practical suit
yeah,
on set.
I'm sure like for like simple scenes where he just needs to deliver a line of dialogue, he is in a suit. But like yeah, for the dynamic where he's like swinging around and stuff like that,
Right.
you're not gonna get that anyway. That's gonna be a CG effect anyway. So it's like why have shoot that what do you call that a practical effect?
Yeah.
Where you're just gonna key him out anyway. So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We're talking a lot of like nerd film industry lingo here. So but
But
yeah,
it's true though. If you go through the trilogies or you watch the movies rather, um, especially in sequential order, you can see how special effects take over
hmm
more and more in each film.
right. Even though the Amazing Spider-Man, they try to shoot a lot of that practically. It's like you're gonna have to have some scenes that have CG. So
Right.
why try to do both? It's like I don't know. It makes no sense to me. But hey, they tried to do what they could and try to put their own stamp on it. That's what probably Mark Webb was trying to do. Anyway, do you want to talk in depth about the airport fight sequence or like just touch upon it a little? Do you have anything to say? Any pressing?
Well, like you said, I think it was like Kevin Feige said, it was just a splash page come to life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, for me, maybe the three greatest moments in the Marvel movies are at number three when again the two teams are facing off and they're both in a line and it's just like okay, Red Rover, come on Cap, come over,
Yeah.
and they just start running after one another. um
I do like how it's not just one big battle. It's not like there's so many
well
characters that they
it
can't they
shows how
can't
the
have.
characters have to interact with each other to
Yeah,
work
exactly.
together.
That's why they pair them off. They like pair this team off here and then this team off there, right? Like Scarlet Witch and Vision versus these two other guys, and
Right.
then Cap versus Spider Man here, and then Iron Man and Rhodey versus Hawkeye and whoever and Ant Man here, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's fantastic. And I love especially I love the part where specifically Hawkeye fires the arrow at Tony Stark with Ant-Man
Oh right, yeah, yeah,
on the tip of the arrow,
yeah.
and he gets into Stark's suit.
He's
And
like,
he's like, "What's going on here?" And he's pulling out, all the weapon systems,
he's
and
like, who's talking right
this
now?
is this is your conscience. We haven't talked in a while.
Yeah, that was awesome. Who's speaking? And then he has the Friday detected and expel it with the whatever protocol he has in
Okay,
his suit,
yeah.
right? That's pretty awesome.
Now the second one that I really like is the opening scene from Age of Ultron. Just the entire opening scene, the whole thing with Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch coming out,
Yeah,
and like, what, you didn't see that coming, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hey, can we get someone to take out that bunker?
Right.
And just the way it was so well choreographed, and I mean, again, like the humor, like shit. Language. Is anyone going to deal with the fact that Cap just said language?
Right. But yeah, going back to Civil War, I think it's impossible to have all those characters in one frame. Even though that sequence was expanded in IMAX, and
Right.
that's available now on Disney Plus. By the way, well, we're not being sponsored by Disney Plus, but hopefully we can. Disney Plus, hey, what's up? What's up, guys?
Hey,
We're looking at you.
hey, yeah, yeah. We'd like to be.
But yeah, you gotta in a film. It's not a splash page. Like it can't be a. It can't. There's too many characters in one frame, so you have to pair them off. And I think that was just a great efficient way of portraying such a great epic action sequence. Um, there's
Well,
never.
I'm gotta disagree with you a little bit. I think it is like a splash page,
Uh,
um, come to life on film, which is again, really like going all the way back. Not to get too sidetracked, but to the original Avengers, the Battle for New York, when they do the 360 shot. I
right.
mean,
Well, I
how many
mean,
people in the theater were standing up on their feet and cheering?
oh, absolutely. Well, I'm saying
Um,
like there technically is one shot of that too, like in Civil War, but you can't have that entire sequence be just one wide master shot. It's not gonna be engaging. You
no,
need
you can't.
yeah. So that's what I mean when I say that they made it work within like film structure.
Yes, it follows the constraints of visual storytelling. You've got to have close-ups. You can't just do all wide
Yeah, exactly.
for every shot. But
Yeah,
when they do, and they get all those characters on screen at once, oh man.
yeah. And that's a huge flaw of mine sometimes in Marvel Studios films is sometimes the action is a bit incoherent and it's just like quick cuts, Michael Bay, and you can't really see the choreography. I think the best like Hong Kong, you know, action films are wide masters, so they actually respect the stunt work and the gaffers and the choreography.
Yeah,
Whereas there's just like quick cuts here, and it's because it's really lazy when you do that. It's like they're not respecting the choreo here, and they're just like kind of just being lazy. But doing it this way as well for the airport sequence makes a lot more sense. I do like how Spider-Man has in the MCU appearances. He's always referencing movies,
yes.
right? Like in this one, have you ever seen that really old movie Empire Strikes Back?
Strikes back.
It's like from 1980, and
Right.
Rhodey's like, "How old is this kid?" He's like,
Yes.
I didn't carbon
He's
date him, but he's on the young side.
yeah. I didn't carbon date him, but he's young.
Yeah. He's like, I think the kid's got an idea here. That's during the when Ant Man becomes big, right?
Right.
And they got to what do you call it for the feet, whatever, tie him up for the
Yeah,
AT-ATs.
where he zip lines him with his webs
Yeah,
around the
zip
feet,
lines,
and they
the AT-ATs, the AT-ATs.
right. Yeah, all terrain attack
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
vehicle. Yeah.
I like the when Ant Man finally goes back to normal and he's like, "Does anybody
Kind of
have any
small.
orange slices?"
I'm not. I don't even know what that means, but it's yes, it's hilarious.
It's just a great non sequitur. It's like, why does he want orange slices? Is he missing some vitamin C right there, or what? Oh, maybe
Apparently,
yeah,
when he
because
has to
yeah, because
go to that size,
yeah, exactly. He's so many vitamin deficiencies when he when he
right?
grows that big, right? He needs some.
He's literally got to have the juice,
He doesn't need orange slice. He needs like a fucking smoothie or something, right?
right?
To get all that protein and vitamins in one dose. Like, he needs a shot of that. He doesn't need any orange slices, but I guess orange slices sounds cooler. Anyway,
That's his personal favorite.
I love that so much. And then, Spider-Man faces off against Cap, and
Yeah,
he stands his ground, but come on, Cap's he's battle hardened. He's been running so many ops at this point. Like he's just kind of toying with him. In my opinion.
you think Cap? He's pulling his punches a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah, yeah, for sure.
And
And
I love the part too where they're like, yeah, kid, you got heart. Where are you from? Like
yeah, yeah,
Queens, Brooklyn.
yep, yeah, for sure. He's pulling his punches because he knows he's a kid, and
Right.
they're all kind of pulling their punches, right? Even though Iron Man does say, we're the JSOC squad that has no compunction for being impolite. I love that line so much. I don't know what it means. I don't know what compunction means. I don't know what JSOC means, but it sounds cool and sure, go for it. RDJ, you're the fucking man. So you can say whatever the fuck you want. I'll buy it. But yeah, they're all pulling their punches, and even I think what's his name or Scarlet Witch says that to Hawkeye at one point, right? He's like, "You're pulling your punches when he's fighting Natalie
or
or
Black Widow.
Natasha. Sorry, I don't know why I said Natalie.
Yeah, yeah.
Nat.
Are
Yeah,
are we gonna beat Prince after this? It depends on how hard you hit me.
exactly. Yeah. And then yeah, I think the Spider-Man after he brings down Ant-Man, with the Empire Strikes Back references. The last time we see him, right, or he gets laid out by somebody. I forget. Do you remember who he gets laid out by?
I know there's a scene where a portion where he's going after Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah. Right. And then they're like in the like this little like hangar area, right? And that's when Falcon hits him with his little drone thingy,
Yeah,
right?
Redwood.
Red Wing, yeah. Go ahead, pet him. He's cute, right? And then that's when they're on the floor, and he's like, "You couldn't have done that earlier." He's like, "I hate you." And then, of course, they have such great chemistry that they have a whole show for them. Falcon and the Winter Soldier earlier last year, so
Yeah,
very cool. I
so
know
they
he
were
gets.
setting it up even back then.
Yeah, yeah,
Apparently.
yeah. Yeah, I know he gets. I'm trying to wrap this up real quick, but I know he gets laid out by somebody, and then he wants to fight some more. But Iron Man comes back and said, "You're done, kid. You done your job."
Right.
And then he just like lays back down, and then that's it, right?
Well, in the very end of the scene, remember, Brody gets hit by Vision on
Yeah,
accident.
yeah. Let's steer clear of non Spider-Man related stuff,
All right. Okay.
so we could keep moving forward. You know what I mean? We spent a lot of too much time on this already.
All right.
So let's continue to Spider-Man Homecoming, yeah, because we got a lot to
Okay.
talk about there. All right, so cool. Which Spider-Man Homecoming does address that scene from his perspective, right? He has a little short film.
Yeah, his YouTube account.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, he's like so excited as a kid. He's like, oh, I'm going to Berlin, or he's like, I can't believe it. Like his interactions with Happy are just so childlike and amusing, right?
Well, the other thing I like too is if you look at going back at the trilogies, how they use the technology for the time,
Yeah,
to make sort of the story a little bit more relevant for it's the zeitgeist of that time and period. Like if you look at the Raimi films, not everyone he never had a cell phone.
yeah.
But
He,
now in the new one, he's got a suit that includes nanotech,
right.
and he's got a YouTube channel and probably a TikTok and a Twitter page and an Instagram and
True. Yeah, I remember the Tobey Maguire was on a payphone a lot. Remember? You
yeah,
don't see those a
yes,
lot.
he did. Yes, when they still had payphones.
And the Andrew Garfield character was on a little like flip phone playing games on his little thing, right?
Yeah. Playing Candy Crush,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Volume One.
Right. Um, but Homecoming, you mentioned Spider-Man 2 as your favorite film, and at the end of our last podcast, Spider-Man 2 is probably my favorite Spider-Man film as well. But I did mention that Homecoming is not too far behind, just because
Yeah,
I love, the first solo Tom Holland Spider-Man, and because the Vulture is such a great villain,
yes.
so relatable.
Michael Keaton was fantastic.
Yeah, it's not only was he like we understood his plight, but like at the end, I was almost kind of rooting for him.
Yeah,
And that's not easy to do. And one of the biggest problems of MCU movies is their villains. A lot of people would say, and when they get it right, they get it really right. So
yeah, they do it well.
Vulture to me, and it's a great kind of thesis statement because this is the first Spider-Man standalone MCU film, and it's like he's the people's hero. You know, he's the working man's hero. And who's the first villain he fights? Like a working class villain, you know,
Right.
who's been downtrodden so much by the system, and you know, at the end he learns a lesson from that as well. You know, so really great themes of this film. I love this film so much, and of course, you know, it's the references to what's the sorry, John Hughes films, right? Like 80s John Hughes films.
Oh yeah, The Breakfast Club.
Yeah, yeah. Did I say is that John
Um,
Hughes?
yeah, all the Brat Pack
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
films.
yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
St. Elmo's Fire,
Right, 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 right.
Pretty in Pink.
Yeah, I mean, it even has when he's running through the backyards. It even has Ferris Bueller's Day Off
Ferris
running in the
Bueller.
back. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's even playing in that scene. So it's like, we're not so subtle after all. But I like it still. I like it a lot, and I love the young actors from
yeah,
Zendaya to his buddy Ned, played by Jacob Batalon. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I know they were roommates during filming, so they
right.
can their their chemistry is real. You know, it feels really lived in. You know,
Yeah,
I mentioned all this before. Yeah, it's almost like he has the perspective from the outside of the Avengers, right? It's like he grew up idolizing them, and it's really almost like an audience surrogate, right? Because like
yeah, exactly.
because we
You
can't
have to be
relate to
that.
any of yeah, we can't relate to any of the
If
other
you
Avengers.
were along, right? You can't be. We none of us can be an Avenger, but if we were along for the ride, if we could be best friends with one of them,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, like I would love to be Happy Hogan
Sure,
racing
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tony Stark down Mulholland Drive.
Yeah. I mean, you got the god, you got the soldier, you got the billionaire,
Right.
and then now you got the kid. You know, out of all four of those, I know I'm missing something. Maybe you know, like a nano, what do you call it? Scientist or not nano, but what is he called? What
Gamma
gamma?
scientist
Yeah,
Bruce
gamma. Yeah,
Banner.
gamma. Yeah, gamma.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's probably the most relatable for anybody. So you got that going for you. And of course, you know, we got John Favreau, Marissa Tomei, Michael Keaton, and it was I forgot to mention this before, but the yeah, Civil War is 2016, directed by the Russo brothers. Homecoming was directed by John Watts in 2017. So we're pretty much getting like a Spider-Man movie every year since 2016. Pretty
Oh yeah,
cool.
just about.
Yeah. I mean, we had to skip a year, 2020, of course, because every that was the blip year. We keep saying that, right?
Right.
So everyone forgot about that year.
I know I did.
We blip back and everyone's like 5 years older. What the hell? My little brother's older than me now.
Yeah. He has his driver's license and I don't.
We're
Wait a
getting
minute, I still have to go back to seventh grade?
right. We're getting a little ahead of
Oh,
ourselves there because that happens in Far From Home. But I wanted to say something. Do you have anything else to add to Homecoming?
but it was great. It was so true to the original comics. Um, Even though we didn't have an origin story, I don't think the audience needed an origin story by that point. I think if you had either read the comics as a kid or seen the films starting in 2002, you had your favorite interpretation of Spider-Man. You knew the story. You knew everything that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't need to start from the very, very beginning. They could sort of uh, do what is it in media res, where the story starts. It's we the audience. The story's already started when we the audience join
Right.
in,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and we're just along for the ride at that point. But it, you
It's
know, it also was a great homage to the original comics because I mean it had so many great villains. I mean, not just the Vulture, but like the Tinker,
mm,
Shocker, Scorpion had set up Danny
right. Right.
Glover as the Prowler.
The Shocker. I shock people. I'm the Shocker.
Yes. You like when he's trying to interrogate him. You've never done this before, have you?
Yeah. Did Donald Glover? Yeah. Um, yeah, I love that scene. I mentioned this to you before, but when he leaves him, when he spider webs his hand to the trunk and he leaves him.
Right.
He's like, "Are you gonna get me out of here?" He's like, "Nope, you're a criminal. That's what you deserve."
Yeah.
He's like, "Bye, Mr. Criminal." He's so naive. It's like he thinks like crime is so black and white, right? It's like no, like these people were normal people, but they were driven to crime, like right?
Right.
It's more complicated than that. But of course, as a kid, you're like, crime is
Yeah,
bad. I got to stop
he's
crime.
15, so
Yeah, I got to stop crime. And of course, the motivations of Vulture are much more gray, right? He's trying to provide for his family, and
family.
yeah, and he's been again like downtrodden, like Stark like took his project right in the beginning and stuff like that. So always like yeah, he's a very empathetic character, and I love that. Let me ask you this: why in the beginning of this movie, why does it say 8 years later? That's a goof, right? Because 8 years after the events of the Avengers 2012 is 2020.
Does it say? Is it? Are you sure it's 8 years later?
I'm very sure, but and then I looked it up later, and there's like a good explanation of that, but I just don't know what it is now. But I thought you knew something about it that I didn't. So, but it's fine. Well, we can address it in another podcast. I don't want to look
All
that
right.
up too much. We're gonna take too much time, like just trying to figure it out.
Technically, what Kevin Feige has said is Spider-Man's very, very first appearance in the MCU is in 2010's Iron Man 2
Oh,
as the kid wearing the Iron Man helmet at the
yeah.
Stark Expo
Oh, very cool.
that he rescues.
Yeah.
Hence his whole fascination and with Tony Stark and his whole, obsession with him.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, cool. So I guess that's gonna do it for our Homecoming. Let's move on to Avengers Infinity War, which Tom Holland gets a lot of screen time in. So, do you want to add anything to that? Or so yeah,
No, I think that that covers it.
well, he it's like right in the middle, right? The Thanos and the Maw. I think the Maw comes to New York and faces off against Iron Man, Doctor Strange,
Right.
the Benedict Wong character Wong, and Banner. Right, Banner is having trouble there summoning Hulk.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, you're embarrassing me in front of the wizards. um, and then he's on he's on a field trip to like Museum of Modern Art.
Right. He
And
starts on the school bus.
yeah, he's on the school bus and like
Haven't
we
you kids ever seen a spaceship before?
Ned's like, we're all gonna die. Yeah, that's a good distraction. And then Spidey swings in, and then subsequently gets swept away onto a spaceship, chasing the Maw and Doctor Strange there, with the die blanket of death, with the blanket of death there, and he gets sucked up. He runs out of air, and because he still has his suit, the the first
The
suit
Iron
from
Spider.
from Homecoming. He doesn't have the
Right.
new one yet. He doesn't have the Iron Spider yet, right? Until he falls, he's like, I'm running out of air. I can't breathe. And he's like, oh, you're running out of oxygen. Um, Tony deploys, the Iron Spider. Is that what it's called?
Right.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, it smells like a new car in here, right? And then he parachutes him away, but he that didn't stick apparently. So he hitches a ride onto the spaceship. He's like, I should have stayed on that bus, right?
Yeah.
And then those are his adventures. Again, I was watching the special features of this, and the Russos called this strange alchemy, which is a term used in the writers' room to describe which characters they want to put together that audience wanted to see. Right? It's like a more expansive version of what we're talking about in Civil War, how they paired off these characters so they could see them fight. Right? But this is like
Yes.
an entire movie of that, because
Yeah.
we can't have all these characters in one storyline. They have to have alternate storylines, right? Like A, B, C, and D, right? Like TV shows do. So a great way to use all of these actors efficiently, have their own little adventures, right? So yeah, Spider-Man is in the plot with Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and the Maw,
Yes.
right? So let's just focus on that real quickly. So yeah, he stows away. He's a stowaway on that ship, and to Tony's dismay, right? He wanted him to go home. He sent him home for a reason. He's just a kid, right?
Right. Tried to.
Yeah, he tried to, but they're trying to get Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is being tortured, I believe, by the
Yes, he
Maw.
is.
What's the Maw's full name?
Ebony Maw?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay. He's like Thanos' right hand man, right? Kind of.
One of them, yeah. He's one of 4 members of the Black Order,
Okay.
which are like Thanos' Proxima Midnight, the chick.
I love what Tony calls him. He's like, that means you, Squidward.
Yeah.
He's like, children of Earth, you have been chosen as children of Thanos, or whatever he says.
Okay.
He's like, I'm sorry, Earth is closed today.
Today.
Oh man, such great one-liners from our Avengers, their OG Avengers there. Yeah, there's something I failed to mention, but like every time like on a big event MCU film like this is in theaters, I remember, when we're still going to theaters like regularly, right?
Right.
I remember seeing this in the theater and just sitting there and being like, I can't believe I'm watching this right now. I felt like so larger than life, so grandiose, and I'm like, oh my
Right.
god, like I'm watching it. I can't believe it. There's nothing like that today. It is like the event film. Like
Yeah.
nobody can match what they're doing right now.
They have set a precedent.
So Spider-Man, has another film reference. Have you seen that really old movie Aliens?
Yeah.
And then Tony gives him another like dead-eyed, deadpan stare, like, oh my god, this kid, this fucking kid. And yeah, he pretty much like shoots a hole in the side of the spaceship and saves Doctor Strange. And they have an argument, right? Doctor Strange and Tony.
Right.
I love how the way they meet. He's like, "Oh, I'm Peter, by the way. We haven't formally met." He's like, "Oh, I'm Doctor Strange. Oh, we're using our made up names. Oh, I'm Spider Man."
Yeah.
Right. So they're arguing about where they should bring the ship, and then after they agree to bring it back to Titan, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, Titan. I don't know how I'm remembering all this from memory. This goes to show how many times I've seen Infinity War. But that's when Iron Man officially dubbed Spider-Man an Avenger. It's like,
Correct.
kid, you are an Avenger. And I love that moment just because, single shot on Tom Holland. And he's just like giddy for a moment, but then he's just like, oh, time to get down to business. I'm an Avenger now. So
Yep.
I love that moment. I love what Doctor Strange is like, what is his relationship to you? Is he your ward? Right? So, misadventures ensue, and then one of the final sequences of the film in which Spider-Man is in, they have to fight Thanos, right?
Yeah.
And it's great how now that we have the Guardians in the mix here,
Right.
Mr. Lord here. And you got Iron Man trying to lay out a plan, and Drax is yawning here while he's.
Yeah.
He's like, you want to get your team together over here so we can hear what's going on? And of course, Peter's like, I like your plan, but but it sucks, and I got a better plan, something like that. I forgot what he says exactly, but
I like in the just how he shows, um, or the film shows how he really is so enthusiastic to be there. He really does give it his all against Thanos.
yeah.
Um, again, great action sequence where they're all fighting. I love the scene where Thanos rips the moon out of the sky and sends it crashing down on our heroes.
And then Iron Man's like, if you throw another moon at me, I'm gonna lose it,
Yeah, I'd be pissed too.
right?
I would.
I love the moment.
No, it just the stakes were so high.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
was the culmination of so many years of storytelling.
Yeah,
That again, like you said, it was great to see the strange alchemy of the characters together, and who do they fight, and how do they team up, and I just like when Spider-Man's swinging after the gun, like excuse me, hi, haven't met you.
sorry, I don't remember all your names. Yeah, and then when he meets the chick with the antenna,
Mantis,
Mantis,
yeah.
he's like, oh no, please don't put your eggs in me. Iron Man's like, I don't want another pop culture reference out of you for the rest of the time we're here, or
This
whatever.
trip.
And then of course Peter Quill's what's it? What does he reference? Flashdance or Dirty Dance?
Oh,
No,
Kevin
Flashdance,
Bacon.
right? Is it Flashdance or Dirty Dancing? Flashdance, right? Is Kevin Bacon?
No, Kevin, that was Footloose.
Oh, Footloose. Sorry.
Is Footloose still the greatest movie of all time?
So you
It
can,
never was.
don't encourage him.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, I'm half human, so that 50% that's stupid, that's 100% you.
Who are you from? Who are you allegiance to? I'm from Missouri. So you're from Earth. Missouri's on Earth, you idiot.
What master do you serve? What do you think I'm
Yeah.
supposed to say? Jesus? All right, we can quote this movie all day. I think let's move on. We all know what happens at the end. Thanos achieves the snap, and Spider-Man is one of the ones that are turned to ash in the blip, as they call it, subsequently after. And I was pretty shocked when I saw that moment happen in the theater. I was like, oh shit, all like the new people are gone, and then like all the OG Avengers are left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what are they gonna pull? How are they gonna pull this one off? So that's a great little cliffhanger they left it on. Shall we move on to Endgame? Yeah, Endgame is next. I was gonna say
Right.
Far From Home, but two Avengers movies back to back. Endgame came out in April of 2019. Ditto Infinity War came out earlier in 2018. And then, Endgame, again, was all about the OG Avengers. They had to try to right the blip and try to get everyone back.
Right.
So Spider-Man doesn't show up until, again, spoilers for Endgame. It should be self-explanatory there, but they achieve, they get the stones back through time travel, through, as Ant-Man calls it, the time heist,
Right.
and bring everyone back. And it was a great moment when, you thought Captain America was down and out there, and then you hear Sam Wilson in his ear on your left, right? And you
Right.
see all those Doctor Strange portals open up, and Spider-Man comes back with all the Guardians. So very cool moment there in the theater when Cap says "Avengers Assemble," and everyone's just like, "Yeah!"
Yeah.
Every one of my screenings on opening night, I saw it twice on opening night, and each one of those theaters erupted. I know you were there one my
On one
last
of them,
one,
yeah,
yeah,
when he
like
hits
the
the hammer.
3:30 a.m. one. I remember talking to you like it was like 5 in the morning. We're just like so amped still, right? Like, oh my god, you just see that? Memories. But of course, very short lived. The reunion is short lived because Tony Stark sacrifices himself. The only one scenario where they could win is if Tony, you know, comes up from up high, right, and
Yeah,
snaps the fingers, destroying Thanos from 2014, and says his farewells to Spider Man. Iron Man was in a lot of pain because he thought he failed and he lost Peter Parker. So
no, yeah, no, it was very emotional,
yeah,
especially for a superhero,
right, right.
for
And then
that
when
genre.
yeah, yeah, and then when he saw him back again, like his face was just overjoyed, and such great moment there when they first, and they hug, of course,
Yeah,
and Peter's like, oh, this is nice. He always wanted to hug him, right? And remember in the first one where he's like opening the door for him, and he thought he was
right.
opening.
Like that's not a hug. I'm
We're
just
not we're
going to the
not there
door.
yet, I'm just opening the door for you. Another thing I wanted to mention about Homecoming, why it's one of my favorites Spider-Man movies, is because it's essentially also a Iron Man movie. Iron Man is in it a lot.
Yeah,
He's pretty much mentoring him. So I failed to mention that earlier, but okay, Far From Home. Far From Home, 2019, also directed by John Watts, continuing the trend of kind of 80s, this time like vacation movie.
yeah.
So very up.
Otherwise known as National Lampoon's Spider-Man's European Vacation.
Oh, there you go. Very cool. Yeah, I love how like both of those movies almost feel good like summer movies as well.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the two Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. But yeah, we saw this in the theater together, and I loved the villain of
Mysterio.
Mysterio, and all their antics in Italy and in Europe there. Really good time. It's basically him just trying to get with Mary Jane, and everyone they blipped, so all their classmates are like the ones that didn't blip are like younger, but they're older,
Right.
and Betty, is it Betty or Betsy? Betty Brand.
Betty Brant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Betty Brant. Yeah, she gets with Ned, and they're an item, and that's kind of cool how they did that.
yeah.
They were just talking on the plane, right? I love the
I
cat.
love the two instructors.
Yes, I was about to say
They
that
have
thing.
to chauffeur the kids.
JB Smoove and Martin Starr.
Yeah.
Martin Starr from Freaks and Geeks. I love him.
You can't be taking pictures of him in the bathroom like that.
Right. Yeah. So pretty much continuing the events of Avengers. Tony's dead. He misses Tony, and Peter inherits the Stark technology and the glasses, right?
Yeah.
So
Which I
that's
love the whole thing with Edith.
Edith. Yeah.
Even dead, I'm the hero.
Yes. Yes. And the AI in it's not Jarvis anymore. It's Friday, right?
Right.
And which Peter subsequently names Karen. they
Correct.
think, what should I call you? Spider suit lady, right? Spider suit lady. Should I call you Liz? No, that's too weird. How about Karen? Yeah, Karen sounds about right. Yeah, Mysterio's not. He's a cool villain. I love how he's like a movie buff kind of character. He's
Yeah.
almost like he's directing, like a movie director, right? He's all about illusion, and he's a good standalone villain. But in the overall scheme of things, I think Vulture's a better villain for me. Um, but yeah, it makes sense in the context of where they are in that universe, right? Like everyone, went through this Thanos thing, the blip, the snap, and then he's just kind of taking advantage of that, right? Like we need
Right.
an Avengers level threat if we want to pull this off, and I can take the
I can.
Stark technology. And then we have the appearance of the Night Monkey as well.
Night Monkey, of
It's
course.
like, Night Monkey, save us! They're in the Ferris wheel, right?
First wheel, yeah, that's
See,
another great sequence.
yeah, Ned's like, oh, what's his name? Oh, Night Monkey. Uh, and then of course at the end he gets with MJ, who is not Mary Jane. I forget what her name is.
Michelle Jones,
Michelle
yeah.
Jones. Okay, cool. Yeah, Zendaya. We're kind of like you know recapping these really quickly, but I love all of the actors, including Zendaya. She seems like such a like a jaded kid, right?
Yeah,
Which is very stark contrast to all of the previous Spider-Man love interests, right?
yes, very, she's very introverted.
Uh huh. Yeah, yeah. Very Gen Y? No, Gen Z. Yeah, Gen Z, and very
Yeah,
kind of
I would
yeah,
suppose.
yeah, very very up to date, very modern. So I like her scene at the end of Homecoming when she's like, I'm not obsessed with him. I'm just very observant.
Right.
um, but yeah, she eventually finds out about Spider-Man at the end of Far From Home. They declare their love to get for each other. We hear some more Ramones. I want to be your boyfriend.
Right.
And then that big
Everything goes to hell in a
yeah,
handbasket.
exactly. We had the big bomb that's dropped at the end of the before the end credit sequence there when Mysterio and the appearance of J. Jonah
Jonah
Jameson,
Jameson,
played
yeah.
by what's his name?
J. Jonah Jameson, you got it.
Oh no, no, but what's the actor's name?
Oh, Simmons.
Yes, J.K. Simmons. Thank you.
J.K.
Yeah,
Simmons.
yeah, yeah. Which I thought to be, I thought it was like the start of like the alternate reality there too, but I guess they never really addressed that, right? I guess it's just coincidence in that universe that it's the same actor, right?
No, I think that's part of the fact that leading into the No Way Home
Okay.
in the story, that would be that version of J. Jonah Jameson in that
Oh,
universe.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, and they kind of teased that with Mysterio introducing that concept, even though his was completely fabricated. Um,
Right.
I like that they kind of just introduced the concept as almost like a primer. Like, hey, we're gonna be delving into it like
Yeah.
you know
Sooner or later.
not yeah feet first in No Way Home. So yeah, do you have anything more to add from to Far From Home before we talk about our final film here?
No, I don't think so.
All right, cool. So well, let's address really quickly. How the Sony and Marvel talks kind of fell apart after Far From Home. I remember just being like in shock, like, oh shit, we might not get another Tom Holland Spider Man. It was really almost devastating. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, Fortunately, they found a way to reconcile and resume shared custody of our favorite webbed hero. So we get to finish out the trilogy at the very least,
Right.
and I think they have good. They're in good. They have good relations now. So hopefully their continued talks for more Tom Holland Spider Man will continue in the future. But let's get right into No Way Home. What do you think of this? This is relatively new. Well, this is brand new still. Uh, do you like No Way Home, Steven?
No, I despised it.
You despised it. Please
No, I
tell
thought
us
it was
why.
great. I
Yeah.
thought it was. thought it was really good. I think really good.
Yeah.
One of my favorite of all the Spider-Man movies in the entire franchise. Uh, Maybe one of my favorite Marvel films as far as the MCU is concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, no, I thought it really delivered.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think it feels really different, too, which is kind of jarring to me at first. Let me explain. As we said before, like Spider-Man: Homecoming and Spider-Man: Far From Home feel like distinctive, feel good summer blockbusters.
Yeah.
No Way Home feels a lot more dark and moody and
You
like
might even say sinister.
sure, yeah, you could say that, but it feels like it's set around Halloween and Christmas, so that mood is definitely accentuated. It doesn't feel like, I mean, it's still parts of it that are fun and because we're still dealing with kids here, but it feels like a very distinctive movie from the other two, and it was like, again, to me, it felt really weird at first, but after a while, I see what they were doing, and then because a lot of dark stuff does happen to Peter here. Um,
Yeah,
Again,
he has a pretty hard
spoilers.
knock life.
Yes, spoilers for No Way Home. We're going to get full spoilers here. Let's get into detail about what happens. But so basically, the plot of the film is Spider-Man he's reeling from the fact that everybody knows who he is now. He hates the spotlight. He can't even stay in his own apartment anymore. He has to move in with Happy in Happy's condo, right?
Yeah.
And enlists the help of one Doctor Strange and to cast a spell on the entire universe, to go back to not knowing who he is anymore, right?
To make everyone forget. Yeah.
To make everyone forget, yeah. But in doing so, like, he's like, no, I want this person to know, I want this person to know, and he like kind of fucks it up, right?
Just botches the whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. This is in the trailer, but I like the fact that like when we meet Doctor Strange, he's no longer the what's the master of, is that what we call it, the master of arts or
Yeah, the Sorcerer Supreme.
sorcerer supreme? Yeah, Wong got it on a technicality because
Right.
Doctor Strange
I
was
was
blipped.
gone for 5 years.
I love their banter. By the way, he's always like,
Yeah.
"Why don't you get yourself a metaphysical sandwich or whatever?" In Infinity War or Endgame,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
I wouldn't mind it tuna milk.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, I got a couple rupees here. What is that? Like, $1.50. Man, we watch those movies way too much. Seriously. Um, but yeah, so the botched spell goes is well, as I already said, it's a botched spell, and shit hits the fan when he sees, I believe it's Doctor Octopus first,
Dr. Otto Octavius.
Otto Octavius, and then he sees, after that, Green Goblin from
Green Goblin.
all
Yeah.
these from the Raimi universe,
Norman Osborn.
which is in fact why we wanted to rewatch all the Spider-Man in the first place, because we saw the trailer and we're like, hey, we better brush up on our cinematic Spider-Man, right? So to speak. And I think in and of itself, that's pretty genius marketing to
Oh,
make
yeah.
us do that. You know what I mean? Because I don't know about you.
I think it was a great concept too. I mean, because that's true to the Marvel comics. I mean,
Yeah.
bring in the multiverse, introduce the fact that these characters are constantly crossing over
Uh-huh.
parallel dimensions.
And I don't know about you, but I was like ready to sell off my Amazing Spider-Man DVDs or Blu-rays. I was like, this isn't canon anymore, and they're not that good, so why should I keep them? And of course, I'm kind of glad that I kept them because now they're useful,
Yeah,
downright necessary if you want to, if you really think about it. But yeah, I mean, the multiverse isn't strange in Spider-Man. Like, you look at that meme where all the Spider-Men are pointing at each other, and it's already like ingrained
Right.
in the culture of Spider-Man. So um, it's great that they kept all that under wraps too, about how we didn't see Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield in any of the marketing
Nope.
material. So kudos to them. Even though you and I probably knew that it was going to happen.
No,
Uh,
I don't know about you.
I had an idea. I still didn't want anybody to spoil it for me because I just wanted that surprise in the theater. So um, so yeah. So the whole point of the movie is they're just trying to, and then of course we see Electro, played by Jamie Foxx
Yeah,
from
Jamie Foxx,
the Amazing Spider-Man, and Lizard, played by
Reese Stephens, and
yes,
Sandman, Thomas Hayden
Sandman from Part
Christensen.
Three. Yeah. So we didn't see fucking Venom from Spider-Man 3.
Well, well, not from Spider-Man
No, we
3,
saw Tom
but
Hardy in the Stinger, and it
there's
made me
Tom Hardy's
regret.
Venom.
Yeah, we it made me regret not watching Tom Hardy's Venom, but uh, I mean it's not necessary. It's only like 2 minutes, but yeah. So we didn't see Topher Grace's Venom, thank God. Uh,
Yeah,
it,
good move on their part, I
no
think.
no James Franco, no Hobgoblin,
Right.
and no Goblin from Amazing Spider-Man 2. What's his name? The Dane DeHaan version.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't
Right.
see him, but we saw everyone else, and
Well, I love. Who's the weirdest guy you've ever fought? I fought an alien one time.
great.
I fought an alien in space. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, I just fought a guy in a rhinoceros suit.
Oh, is that what happened in the movie? It's been like a couple of weeks since I've seen it, so
Yeah.
nice. Um, yeah. So the whole goal of the movie is he's like rounding him up for Doctor Strange to put in, like, to cage him, so they can return him to their rightful universes, right?
Yeah.
So and in the process of doing that, our Spider-Man, the Tom Holland Spider-Man, Peter Parker, realizes that they're gonna die. They're eventually gonna die in their universes, and this is why we relate to Spider-Man so much: his humanity, right? He doesn't want that to happen, and he wants to figure out a way to save them. Um, which, of course, you and I watch movies about time travel and messing with universes so many times, right? The butterfly effect. It's like there's gonna be consequences to that, right? Even Tony Stark says that in at the end of Endgame. He says, "You mess with time, it tends to mess back," right?
Right.
So it's like we knew this. You and I know this. You're like, "Don't mess with this, Peter," but of course he messes with it, and of course consequences ensue. And one of the most devastating parts of the movie, when Aunt May sacrifices herself to save our Spider-Man, and dies. Great heroic death, I gotta say.
Right.
So very emotional, of course,
Yeah.
because it's his last parent. He's essentially an orphan now, even though he's technically an adult. I failed to mention, of course, the other subplot is they're trying to get into MIT. Him, MJ, and Ned. I believe Flash got in already, right?
Right.
He's like part of their crew now. It's kind of funny. He's become like a groupie, right? He's like, I'm Spider Man's best friend. He even like
Writes
wrote
the book
he even
about
wrote
him.
a book. Yeah, he's got famous already from it. It's like he's already rich. Flash Mob, right? I love
Yeah.
his. I wish we would have seen him more. He's like in it very little this movie, but I love all of his appearances in like Far From Home when he gets punched in the nuts all the time.
Yes.
um, but yeah, you could again. That's another reason why it felt different because he's not in high school anymore. Um, Happy is in it very little too, right? He comes in at the end, and it's really sad. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but yeah. So in the midst of all this, Aunt May dies, and they're like the end of the second act, right? Is at his lowest point. He doesn't know what to
Right.
do. Um, in the midst of trying to save Harry, is it Harry? Harry Osborn. No, Norman. Sorry, Norman Osborn.
Norman
Yeah,
Osborn.
which
Yeah.
everyone's praising Willem Dafoe here. I gotta say, I love his performance as well. He, him and Electro. Electro is like, hey, I don't want to go back. We're gonna die there.
Right.
So let's get out of here and wreak some havoc, right? So chaos ensues when that happens, and
And I also like how when he technically cures Doctor Octopus.
oh yeah, completely
I
failed
mean
to
that
mention.
was a very nice scene too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And even with the Sandman, they kind of were more or less on the same page or on the same side.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Sandman just wants to get home to his kid, right?
Right. So you had the whole, even though it was five of them, you had the whole concept of the Sinister Six, but
Mm.
how they work against each other and how they work out again along with Peter, and that was a lot of really interesting dynamics and relationships, I think, to balance in one movie.
Right. I didn't even get that they were the Sinister Six. So thank you
Yeah.
for pointing that out. Are there six of them?
Well, Venom would technically be the sixth one
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
because it's what Green Goblin, Doctor Octopus,
He he
Electro, Sandman, and the Lizard.
he didn't get to play though. He's the sixth man, so to
Right.
speak. But yeah, so I believe at that point of the movie, Ned and MJ are working with Peter. So they got their little kind of uh, geek squad there, trying to help him
Yeah.
out, using
Scooby Doo
Matt.
the shit
Yeah, yeah,
down,
Scooby,
kids.
the Scooby Doo gang there, trying to Scooby Doo that shit. What's Doctor Strange doing during this? He's trying to keep it together, right? The fabric of reality together, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so MJ and Ned are trying to find Peter, and at some point Ned like takes control of what do you call that? Not the time stone, but the whatever Doctor Strange uses to open up portals.
Right.
The finger thingy, the ring, whatever it is called. And then he opens up a portal and he's like, Peter. And then of course he turned around and is it the Andrew Garfield one first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it's cool how like they're in Ned's Ned's house and they're speaking to his like Filipino grandmother and
Grandmother,
she's
yeah.
speaking Tagalog and I have a lot of Filipino friends so I was like, oh hey, it's cool that yeah she's I'm going to bed now.
Clean up, clean up.
Yeah, yeah. And then yeah, they're talking to they're like, who the hell are you, right? And
Your partner, I'm Spider-Man. Show me
right,
your ID. I don't carry ID. That sort of defeats the purpose of the whole, and I'm on a superhero crime fighter thing.
right. And again, it's been I got to see this again. But how do they meet the Toby Maguire version?
They do it again. That opens
Oh,
another portal, and Tobey Maguire walks through.
nice.
Like, yeah, guys.
He's looking good, by the way. He's doesn't look a day over 40, but he's probably like pushing 50 at this
Yeah,
point.
both of them were looking good.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, he's been working out and uh, doing that musical film. I forgot what it was called with the Hamilton guy. I forgot his name. Anyway, yeah, they both look good, and they both look battle hardened, and yeah, it's really cool how they all kind of contrast. I think the most like downtrodden guy is the Andrew Garfield one, right?
Right.
Still like really depressed over Gwen Stacy,
Yeah, exactly.
and if it seems like Toby uh, worked things out with MJ, right? His MJ.
Right. Yeah,
So
he was doing pretty good,
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
well
yeah,
for himself.
yeah. He seems at peace with himself. And then I think that's when they come together and uh, you know see how much pain our Spider-Man is. Tom Holland. I believe they identify each one like right Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I don't know who is assigned which moniker, but we'll just for the sake of this podcast just say them by their actors' names, to avoid any confusion. But yeah, see how much pain he's in, and kind of give him, some words of wisdom. We've been there, and you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said Spider-Man is a pretty tragic character. He has a lot of loss in his life, and
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
our Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, is no different now. He lost not only Uncle Ben, but Tony Stark, right? Another father
Yeah,
figure, and Aunt May here. So
yeah. So
and then now, like, he makes the ultimate sacrifice when, like, nobody knows who he is at the end, right? So
right.
a lot of pain in this kid's future, but he's gonna fight through it.
Well, it's gonna make him grow up and mature.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so this all culminates in this final battle on the newly refurbished Statue of Liberty with the Cap's shield, right?
Right.
Do you think that's a good idea, putting Cap's shield on Statue of Liberty?
No, I don't. I'm glad they took it out
Yeah.
in the end.
So they have this huge fight on the Statue of Liberty, and this was in the trailer, but the moment when, like, MJ's falling, and
Right.
our Spider-Man is, like, rushing to try to save her. Again, direct mirror to the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, right? When
Yep.
Peter Andrew Garfield is trying to save Gwen, and he ultimately is
Comes
not in
in and
time.
totally redeems himself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if I remember correctly, our Peter Parker, Tom Holland, is about to jump after her, and one of the villains swoops in and cuts him off, right? And then
Right.
she's about to fall to her death, and then bingo bango, we got Andrew Garfield to, and the look on his face when he's like, "Oh, I saved her." He's like, "Oh, I did something
Right.
right here." So it's great redemption for him. Everyone's just raving about the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man performance, because he was, out of the all three of those actors, he was the one that was short shrifted, right?
Yeah.
The most, because he
Well,
only.
well, he finally got his trilogy though, because this is the third
Oh,
one
yeah,
he's
yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah. That's a great way of looking at it. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Yeah, yeah. So if I'm skipping over anything, please add into it. But I believe Ned, like, portals his way into that somehow, into that
Right.
onto the Statue of Liberty with MJ. Oh yeah, we were mentioned, we skipped that part, but that's how MJ was falling to her death. And oh no, no, they're being chased by somebody, right?
The lizard.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, 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 yeah. And then that's how they all end up on the. This whole time, our Peter Parker is trying to just get vengeance for Aunt May, and he wants to kill the
Goblin.
Willem
Yeah.
Dafoe goblin. Well, yeah, there's only one goblin, so the goblin, and the other Spider-Man can tell that he's just consumed with rage and vengeance. So at the end there, well, I think at one point he's just, like, wailing on him, right?
Oh yeah, that was kind of. It was. It was pretty brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was just going to town
He
on
wants to
Lone Grove.
murder the person who took away the person who meant most to him. So
Yeah.
very, very relatable. But are the other two Spider-Men come in and like,
Stop him.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
and that was a
interrupt him.
great scene too, where he's got a goblin's glider and he's gonna stab him in the chest and be like, I don't, I want him to die. I don't care anymore.
Uh huh. And how do they stop that? I forgot about that.
McGuire just steps in and he kind of looks at him and they
Oh
make
no!
eye contact for a moment.
Yeah, he gets stabbed, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but he doesn't die, of course, because he's
Yeah.
got,
I've been stabbed before.
yeah, he's got
Oh
superhuman.
my God, you're probably in so much pain right now.
He does everything a spider can, so
Right.
he regenerates, or a radioactive spider can. So yeah, that was a great moment for him, because he's the one who actually stabbed the real Green Goblin in his universe. So that for him to get stabbed this time, the way he was meant to, right?
Right.
instead of evading it and having that goblin being killed. So yeah, they stop him from being a murderer. So that was a great moment for all of our Spider-Man.
Well, other than all the other people that murdered in all pre-existing movies, but yes, you're right.
Who murdered who?
Well, I mean, the Goblin. I mean, think about it. All those people on the bridge,
Oh, right,
Aunt
right, yeah,
May,
yeah, absolutely,
were in the first movie.
yeah. But that was the Goblin. That was his alter ego. That wasn't Norman. Norman's innocent, man.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, technicality.
Right?
Yeah, you tell that to Charlie Cox, Mr. Matt Murdock.
Oh yeah, yeah. We totally forgot to mention that. That was a great. Yeah, and then of course, spoilers for Hawkeye, but then we see Kingpin in that, so that's very cool.
Yeah,
That they're merging all the Netflix Marvel shows. Hopefully, we get to see John Bernthal pretty soon because I love his
that would
rendition
be.
of
Yeah,
Punisher,
that would be cool.
and even Luke Cage. Love Luke Cage. But
There was a
yeah,
great part even in the beginning of the movie where when the Daily Bugle comes out and they report, Spider-Man is Peter Parker and he's trying to escape with Mary Jane
uh-huh.
and he's swinging through the city and like if you have a sharp enough eye and catch it for a split second, it shows in the background or like Spider-Man swinging down Broadway and you can see the sign for the Avengers, the musical from Hawkeye.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Okay, wow. I mean, I saw Oh yeah, I was watching it during that, but yeah, I guess I wasn't. My eye wasn't keen enough. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Yeah, yeah. At the final scene where he's swinging right in his new suit,
right.
in like the TV show version of the suit,
Yeah.
like like the most basic form of it. Like, yeah, that looked cool too. I like how that transpired, but yeah, very tragic ending. How he goes to visit MJ and Ned at the donut shop, and he breaks his promise. Right? He said he was gonna tell MJ all about it, but after of course they forget about his identity because of the Doctor Strange spell that goes through. Wait,
Right.
okay. So like the fabric of time was like broken, right? Fractured at that moment. And how does he bring it back together again? I forgot.
Well, he cast a spell where everyone forgets who Peter Parker is.
Oh, that's the only way to
Right.
okay.
Because everyone that remembers is coming into their universe.
I see. Huh.
So ultimately, in the end, everyone that didn't know. Remember when he's at the gravesite with Happy,
Oh yeah, Happy doesn't remember him. Yeah,
and Happy doesn't remember him?
yeah. That was pretty sad too.
Yeah.
It's like no, no more Happy and well, who? So he's just gonna use like his. He's back to being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man now. Then, huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
No more Stark Tech.
Nope. I'd
Wow.
imagine it's sort of he kind of hit the reset button.
Yeah, yeah. He rebooted himself. That's crazy. Which, yeah, if you think about it, okay, in the broad scope of things, that's a kind of a great arc because he could have been an Avenger at the end of Homecoming, right? But he also said, hey, no, no, I just want
Right.
to stick to being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man after, his encounter with Vulture and everything. Uh, his goal of that movie, he wanted to be the hero. He wanted to save the day. And then at the end, he was like, he kind of humbled himself and said, no, I'm just going to stick to being what I was meant to be, the working man's hero. And then Far From Home, like, obviously, like, he bitch, you've been to space, So
Right.
he couldn't be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but he's like kind of forced into this bigger role. And then, like, of course, these huge events transpired in No Way Home after the blip, and then rebooted through no fault of his own, but it kind of forced him to humble himself again. So great kind of arc if you think about it.
No, I agree. Yeah. I mean, Marvel definitely the studio has a great knack for developing these characters and storytelling,
Uh-huh.
and creating these multiple universes that interconnect and expand with one another.
Yeah, and it's great because they there is a through line, and they had an end point, they had an end game for the Tom Holland Peter Parker slash Spider Man. So it wasn't like they were making it up as they go along, and you could really tell that they put the work in story wise, character wise, and it's definitely not a surprise. Was there ever any doubt? I don't think so, right?
I don't. It's from what I've read, it's the first film to make over $1 billion since 2019,
Yeah,
which takes us back to Endgame, I
yeah.
believe.
Endgame and did Joker make $1 billion that year? I forget.
Oh, the one with Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it made $1 billion.
Okay. I know it did really well, especially for its budget, but
Yeah,
yeah, it makes sense. Well, I think Rise of Skywalker made over $1 billion that year too. So, but that's
yeah,
I mean that's
yeah.
come on, that's Disney Lucasfilm, cats in the bag, man. Come on, right?
But again, given the whole pandemic and everything, that is sort of a major accomplishment.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, for sure.
If we're talking just theatrical gross.
Yeah. Let's so that brings us to the end of our No Way Home review. So it's safe to say we both really loved it. I gotta say it blew me away. I still gotta watch it a couple more times, but
Yeah,
first impressions is definitely stunned. Loved it a lot. Very different. Shocked me at first, but in the overall scheme of things, it's definitely one of the better entries of the trilogy. I still gotta say, Homecoming is my favorite, just because,
um,
yeah, for now, But what about you? Do you think No Way Home tops it for you of the MCU Spider-Man?
I think it might be my favorite MCU Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I think Raimi's number two is still at the top
Ah.
of all the movies.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Maybe I just have a thing for Alfred Molina. I don't know.
No, you're there's something about that movie. It's kind of perfect. You're right. So simple yet so complex, right?
Yeah,
Let's before we end the episode, let's speculate here. You were talking earlier about you think that they're trying to position Spider-Man as like the new kind of head of the Avengers, like the Iron Man. But you also think that Doctor Strange. I think Doctor Strange could be like the middleman, right? Doctor Strange
yeah. I
does.
think he's going to play a big role.
Yeah, he seems like the close enough personality, right? The two egomaniacs, right? How they kind of
Right.
clashed in Infinity War, like trying to save your reality, douchebag, right? Like who let you hit the cauldron of whatever? uh, but yeah, I mean, and he has a good rapport with Tom Holland, so I think before Spider Man eventually does take that role, I mean, because he's too young now to be a leader, but
Correct.
definitely see Doctor Strange taking that role first. What do you think about all the stingers at the end of No Way Home?
I think it's interesting to see what's going to potentially happen with Strange and teaming up with Wanda, and if they're going to get Vision back, and we're going to have to wait till the multiverse of madness when we get to see the great Sam Raimi finally return to his craft.
Yes, and then yeah, basically the end credits stinger was essentially just the trailer for
A
Doctor Strange
trailer,
2,
yeah.
and yeah, we saw like evil Doctor Strange. We saw what's that guy, the dude from the original film that becomes a villain,
Oh, Baron Mordo.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm butchering
In
that name.
fact, there was even I had a feeling Sam Raimi would do this. Sumagorath, who's just a giant space eyeball from outer
Oh,
space,
nice.
like an eyeball with tentacles attached.
What's the Chiwetel Ejiofor character's name again?
Baron Mordo.
Baron Mordo. Nice. Yeah, he was kind of teased at the end of Doctor Strange, as he comes kind of villainous, right? So
Right. Because he felt he should have been the Sorcerer
that,
Supreme.
yeah, yes. He felt like he was overlooked or whatever.
Right.
And then of course, yeah, we got Wanda. She's kind of banished herself somewhere, right? And Doctor Strange comes and enlists her help. And then before the credits, we of course we had the appearance of Tom Holland,
Right.
which I was like, oh man, I should have watched those because I kind of forgot what he was all about. I did not see the Carnage one yet. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. It was good.
It was good. Okay.
It wasn't bad. Yeah.
I mean, Woody Harrelson. Come on,
Right.
nice. But do you think it was essential in knowing what? Uh,
No, I don't think it was essential to
yeah.
it.
Because he's just
I think that's the other thing they do. They do a pretty good job of you can either watch everything, just your own particular favorites.
yeah. Well, there you go. What do you think? Yeah, so Avengers, there going to be more Avengers movies? You think?
At some point, in some form, we'll see something similar to the Avengers, even if they don't call themselves that.
Yeah. There has to be a team up
Could
movie.
be the Defenders.
Oh, yeah.
Could be the Illuminati.
What about West Coast Avengers?
Could be West Coast Avengers.
Yeah, because I think if they do another like title that's Avengers, almost like
Would they still technically have room to do the X-Men?
yeah. I mean, but
Fantastic Four?
if they use the title Avengers again, it's almost like disrespect to the original, lineup. Like especially to RDJ and Chris Evans, right?
Right.
We know Thor's gonna be in as Guardians of the Galaxy, and
Correct. So,
is Mark Ruffalo still?
Hulk,
Yeah, is he still gonna be attached to do more Hulk films or?
as far as I know,
Yeah. Well, we saw him at the end of Shang Chi, right? With he's Banner again.
yeah.
He's not Smart Hulk anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. Anything else you want to add, speculation wise, or?
No, I'm looking forward to the lineup and everything they've got coming out on Disney Plus and movies in theaters. A lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I mentioned this in my. I did a podcast on my favorite movies and TV shows of 2021, but I mentioned that how I kind of feel like the Disney Plus MCU shows this year overshadowed most of the MCU films, especially the early ones like
Yeah.
Black Widow
Black Widow and
and
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi and Spider-Man probably the only exceptions because they lend themselves more to a theatrical experience. I
Definitely.
can't speak on Eternals because I didn't see it, but you told me you really hated it, so you probably would agree that the Disney Plus shows are better than that movie at least, right?
So far, yeah, I've enjoyed the Disney Plus stuff.
Right. I mean, they seem so much more high concept too. I mean, especially WandaVision and Loki.
Loki was really, yeah,
Oh my
both of those
god.
were really great.
And Hawkeye, for some reason, to me, like I wasn't expecting so much of it, but I had a really great time with Hawkeye as well.
Yeah,
This,
same here.
it took me by surprise. So, and then so the next slate of MCU films is Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and I don't have Wakanda Forever,
Yeah.
and am I missing anything else from 2022? I know there should be one more, but I
Thor
can't.
Love and Thunder?
Oh, okay, yeah. Nice, yeah. With
At the very tail end?
right, with Natalie Portman having coming back, right?
Right.
Taika Waititi. That should be really fun. Just please have Jeff Goldblum reprise his role as the
Oh, Grandmaster.
Grandmaster.
Oh, yes.
Yes, please. I love him on his Disney Plus show. All right, so
Yeah.
right, Yeah, too bad that I remember you said you're looking forward to in No Way Home was another Ramon song. I didn't hear one. Did you?
I don't know. I don't think there was
Yeah, I
this
mean
time.
the end credit song was a De La Soul song, so
Yeah, so they still have a good soundtrack.
yeah, it's very New York still.
Right.
Then the Far From Home one was the Go Go's Vacation.
Yeah.
Vacation, all I ever wanted.
Vacation has to get away.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're saving some more Ramones for a fourth film. Who knows?
Could be.
Yeah, we can only speculate and hope. Anyway, that probably takes us to the end of our long journey of podcasting about Spider-Man here into the Spider-Man. I want to thank my guest and Spider-Man enthusiast, Mr. Steven. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, well, it probably isn't the end because there's going to be more Spider-Man, hopefully. But and I know we could talk about other things other than Spider-Man, but uh,
Right.
yeah, it's always
One
great.
would hope.
Oh yeah, and of course there's going to be more Marvel movies to talk about as well. So that's
Correct.
not the end of that.
Yes.
Yes. All right, my friend. Thanks again. Your Spider-Man knowledge is more than is invaluable. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. You don't know how much I appreciate you saying that.
I promised myself I wasn't gonna cry. All right, guys. You want to close us out with the Lazerboy theme there?
Lazerboy, what is the nature of your powers?
All right, thanks, guys. See you later.